I have a confession.
Yes, tell me everything.
Okay. I thought there was only the one book series for me, the fairy smut that I told you about a couple of weeks ago. But I found another one. And now it's not fairy smut, but it's like werewolves and vampires and magic and smut. Yes. And I'm like, woo! So if you need me, I'll be reading. Because that's all I ever want to do right now. Please and thank you. Goodbye.
Awesome. This is the world that we're living in right now. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, why live in the real world when you can just live in a fantasy world where things are not easier, but way more entertaining, and they tie up nicely with a bow. And I'm here for that. I'm really here for that.
And everyone can have a happily ever after and have, orgasmic pleasure.
Hell yes. You just look at them and you're like, oh my God, I orgasmed. It's like, what happened? How does this work?
And they look amazing the whole time doing it.
Yeah, it's the magic. That's why. It's the magic.
It is. It totally is. Well, let's go ahead and get this party started. Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses. Running your own business, it's hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I mean, I've already figured it all out, but we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to make six figures and beyond.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
I'll be honest, a bunch of it totally sucks. So let's get started.
That's so true. So much suckage all around. Also, I saw this funny reel today, or who knows, like TikTok reel, I don't know. But it was like, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. So now I work 24/7.
Yes, 100%.
Wow. So true. So very true. That's just, we don't want to work regular hours. And so we work weekends and nights and holidays.
I'll bet you 15 this morning. I feel you.
Still, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like,
absolutely. I believe I told somebody 2 days ago, I'm like, listen, I don't have to put up with this shit because I own my own business. That's why. Yeah. That is a true quote from Sybil Solon.
Quote. Well, that leads in perfectly to what we're talking about today. Welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's show, we are talking about why people think they have any say over how you spend your time and your life.
Yes. Preach.
And also, what else?
Also, we're talking about how to handle all that situation and more. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, we are going to get feisty today because we're already feisty. We are going to get
feisty.
Yeah, you can say fiery. I'm going to say feisty.
It's going to get feisty up in here. We're both coming at this in a really highly charged situation, but frame it for us, Sybil. Why are we here today? What are we talking about?
One of the things that just happened was, so somebody, a lovely gymnast, took a mental health day and the world exploded.
For real, they did.
Yeah, about the decision that she made to take time for herself and, not do something that is her right to not do. And, fuck everyone.
All right, and that's the episode today. Thanks for joining us. but seriously,
it hits us, I think, really hard because, as solopreneurs and business owners, we are constantly under the same kind of strain. I mean, maybe not to the degree of like we could injure ourselves. No, probably we could injure ourselves because we work when we probably shouldn't. Because we feel that we need to because our clients run our lives, right? What did I tell you? I said the only person she has any responsibility to is her sponsors.
Yeah, and even then, they probably care more about her and her well-being than anything else.
I mean, I would hope so.
I mean, some of the stuff too that I've been reading. First of all, everyone has a fucking opinion on this, which I'm like, the dude on the couch who's never literally run a day in his life is like, she should be competing, and it's just like, sit the fuck down. You have no opinion on this.
That's right.
But I also didn't fully realize that because I'm not a gymnast, right? No. She messed up a couple times in the trials or qualifications or whatever it's called. And other gymnasts came forward and said, yes, that happened to me and I didn't listen and was seriously, seriously injured. You know, we're talking quadriplegics and, horrible injuries that you do not come back from. And so I think some people are using that almost as an excuse that like, oh, it's okay because she could have died if she didn't. But I also want us to collectively get to the space where we feel like we also have that permission, even if your job is just you washing someone's
Right.
face, right? Or working on a
Right.
computer. Like it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
Of like it just doesn't matter. Oh my God. I mean, whether you know, you want to work or you don't want to work or you can work, this concept too of like this hustle culture and like always
Yes.
having to show up and like always having to perform at 100%. And I'm so over it. I'm so tired of it.
And I think that it's especially put more on women than men, personally.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if this was a man, they'd be like, oh, you know, he's just taking care of himself and it's important. I mean, I wonder what was going on in his head when he made that decision. A woman, they're like, oh, why isn't she doing it?
Yeah. Well,
What?
and that's,
She should push through.
yeah.
Also, they
Also,
own us in some way. They have some kind of claim on us, our bodies.
yes.
Fuck you. You have no claim on us at all.
No, this also is a great, like, if you've heard of the term intersectionality and you've wondered, okay, like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
For both Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, right, the tennis player, they are women of color. So as white women, we can sit here and say stuff, but like also we're believed more often.
Yes, it is
Like,
true.
that's just
It is true.
the way it is. So this also is like so multi-layered, and there's so many different approaches from it. So I want to make sure like we acknowledge that as
Absolutely.
well. But yeah, like believe women. Stop. Like I almost like deleted it because I'm just like I'm not going there. A friend of mine, posted something and it was like what happened to my body, my choice. And I'm like that only exists when it's convenient.
Yes.
For people. And that is another way in which women are controlled and told what to do.
Right, exactly. Well, and for me, so the first thing I thought when I heard this, and I was like, well, from a business standpoint, I was like, well, she should never have given an excuse. Because as soon as you give an excuse, a reason, you open the door. I mean, this is why businesses, when they fire you, they're just like, we no longer need your services.
Yeah.
And you don't give a reason because as soon as you open the door. And so as business owners, I tell people all the time, I'm like, you don't make excuses. You don't say, I'm sorry, unless like you have done something wrong. Own up to what you've done. But if you're just like, yeah, sometimes crap happens and you just like acknowledge the fact that it happens and you let people get upset. But because she gave a reason, suddenly people are like, well, let's talk about your reasons. It's not good enough. And if she had just been, I'm not doing it, and then left it at that, it might have been easier. But as soon as I thought that, I was like, fucking, it's not my responsibility, or I have no say. Fuck me. I literally said, fuck me. I'm like, fuck me. I have no say.
Well, she also tweeted about, I didn't realize, obviously it's not a direct quote, but like, I didn't realize how much my, like, almost like value she had outside of her accomplishments as a gymnast. And I know that's something that we've talked about before too, of just becoming the identity of that thing that you do and being unable to separate you as the person and you as that public face, whether it's in your business or as a public persona or as an athlete or whatever. And I think the hardest thing and the journey for all of us is to realize that we are worthy, whether you're sitting on the couch reading fairy smut or like changing somebody's life. Like it is irrelevant. They're not you don't have to have one to have the other.
No, that's absolutely correct. Such a good point, Alex. And I mean, and it is hard because you look at, so one of the things that comes up for me a lot when this happens is, I see a lot of high profile clients, and when they talk to me about like paparazzi and like the people rooting through their trash and that how they don't have, control over their life and how it can, that consumes them, and that people think that they own them, that they have the right to these things because they are a public figure.
And I feel, sorry, go ahead.
And it makes me feel so upset for them because I can't even imagine what that life would be like.
No. What I was going to say too is like social media makes everybody seem like they're a public persona. I've come on here too and shared when like strangers I don't even know on the internet are like attacking me and saying shit and like going through my history and like, you don't know me. And so I feel like we live in an age too, where putting yourself out there in any capacity, whether it's, like large scale celebrity to even like, I just feel like internet celebrity, which like I'm not an internet celebrity, and yet still people are like, oh, you know, why are you doing that? And like, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like everybody feels so entitled to opinion about your life right now. And I've had it up to here, up to these freshly tinted eyebrows with it.
Yeah, you don't get to have a say in somebody else's life unless you personally know them. And even that, it's only a small degree. That's it. People control their own lives, their own destiny. You can have opinion, I guess, to yourself, because we all have opinions, but at some point you got to just shut the fuck up. That's it. That's it.
So true.
Nobody cares. Shut up.
The other thing that I feel like came out with Simone Biles specifically, and you know, her feeling like she needed to give a reason is permission, right? I need to have permission to not do this thing, because not doing it because I don't want to is too selfish or too self-serving. And like, how many times in your business have, like you said too, put your clients first? Like I mean, let's talk about permission to take a lunch break, because I know that that's something too that comes up for you a lot, right? It happens in little ways and it happens in bigger ways.
Shame. I got the boring it. Shame.
Right? You don't need permission to take a lunch break. You don't need permission to take a day off. You don't need permission to say to someone that you don't want to work with them anymore, or that you want to get more money, or that you want to charge more. Like, we don't owe anyone anything.
It's true. It's hard. So I was just sharing, there is a TikTok. It's not real. It is a TikTok of a person who is a hairdresser, and she essentially she's showing a interaction that happened with her and a client, and she is dressed all in black, and it's done in a kind of a funny way, but you're also like, this is deep for anybody who works in the industry. This is deep. She essentially is, she comes in and she's talking to herself, and she's like, I'm at a restaurant, and this girl walks up to her, and she's a client. She goes, oh, I see that you're here. And I mean, it was really nice of you to have your manager, you know, bump me off your schedule today because you decided to play hooky. And she's like, I'm going to tell your manager. How do you feel about that? And she was just like, I mean, I'm here with my family today because I went to a funeral. And she's like, that's why I'm all in black. And she's like, well, I mean, I think this is a little bit your fault, because I mean, you're always all in black. And the thing is, in our industry, we kind of laugh at that because we often all work in black.
Right.
But at the same time, you look at this lady and you're like, who the hell are you? Right? Who are you to be like, so you're going to tell her boss? Like, who are you? So she comes back with, but I mean, feel free to tell my boss, because, you know, I think I've come in for you on multiple days at different times to help you out. Early mornings, changed so I can come in on weekend to help you out. I don't know why you think I'd, you know, bail on you. And that is the epitome of how we feel sometimes in our industry.
I mean, yeah, that's just like America in a nutshell. I don't know if it's like this in other countries, but I definitely feel like people feel entitled to everything. Right. Yeah. They feel entitled to your work. They feel entitled to your time. They feel entitled to like your mood and your emotions. Like, you have to show up a certain way for them. And I feel like that's a cultural thing. But when it comes to permission, like, there's also an allowance, right? Like, you have the ability to decide what you will allow and what you will tolerate and what you will not.
Right. And it's hard. It's hard to set those boundaries. It's hard to do it with strangers. It's hard to do it with family. And when you catch yourself with these boundaries issues, the only thing you can do is try to stop yourself and then immediately set them. Or if you didn't at that time, go back and think to yourself, what could I have done differently? And not beat yourself up about it. I know it's hard. It's hard because we've all done it. We've all gone back and been like, oh, I shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. A million times.
It's hard. So if you're sitting and you're listening, you're like, oh, I mean, this hits home. I feel it. Or if you're like, I don't have boundary issues. What? I mean, come on, you work in this industry. You probably do. I have very few boundary issues, and Alex just pointed out that I have trouble taking lunch because my class will just talk right over my lunch, and I'll just sit there and be like, "Yep,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
yeah, yeah.
yep,
Well, the
yep."
interesting thing about boundaries too, who is it? Cara Lowenthal of the Unfuck Your Brain podcast has an episode on boundaries, and I re-listened to it previously. Highly recommend. And a boundary is something you put in place for yourself, and it's not always something you necessarily communicate. But when
Mhm.
we feel that anxiety, that stress, that discomfort is usually because we have a boundary that's being violated. And so
Yes.
it's not like you say to this person, like, I need to take my lunch and you need to respect that. But it's like, you almost have to, you stand up for yourself by
Yes.
having that boundary and enforcing it. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, and I know that many of you are like, I'm way older than you, Alex. I already know, but your mental health, right, comes from having those boundaries and sticking to them. And every time somebody crosses that, that's like another tick in the belt or notch in the belt that's just going to make you agitated. The other person, they don't give a shit. That person's just enjoying your time freely while you're sitting there with your stomach gurgling with all that stomach acid because you're so damn hungry. You know, they don't care. And I'm not saying that they have to care, right? This is about the self, like the literal self-care of not being so worried about everybody else and our clients and serving them, but giving yourself permission to come first.
It's true. And that's the thing. Okay. So they have permission to let yourself come first and permission to just move forward with whatever you're doing. Because sometimes we feel like we're stuck in like, we're like, well, it'll be just a second. Well, just like a second more. Well, just one more second. And sometimes it's like, we feel this politeness. And Alex has talked about this so much, this politeness. Right. This politeness. We're like, oh, well, I don't know how to get myself out of this situation. And if I'm just going to wait a few more like minutes, a few seconds, I'm sure it'll get whatever's happening will be just over. And then it will be like it never happened. It'll be done. That's how you get fucking murdered.
Well, that's waiting for the other person to give you permission to exit the situation. It's like, no, we have to take instead of wait. And I think as a chronic people pleaser, and I feel like as women who are caregivers, right, or you know, female identifying folks, like being a people pleaser is so expected that it's really difficult to not be that. And when you're not that, then you're a bitch and you're difficult and you're,
I was going to say, it's so hard because I am known by many as being like contrary and bitchy and hard to deal with. And often the reason is just because like, I will cut you off and be like, no, I'm not doing that. And we're done. We're just done. I was just doing a training with somebody where I literally like, she was like, well, but I think, you know, it's best if we, and I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We're moving on. And she's like, well, I'm like, I've already said we're moving on. We're done. We're moving on.
Yeah.
And you could literally see that she was like, this chick, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm done with that conversation. And we're just moving on from that because this is my time.
Yeah.
And your opinion means nada right now to me.
Yeah. But people feel entitled to your time. I mean, it's just hard.
So ways to do it, Alex. Do you have any? Because you've gotten better at it as well. So
I call you. What are you doing?
You call a friend. You call a friend. I do it to you sometimes. I'm like, Alex, I need help with this one. Or does this sound too mean? I say that all the time to you, like, does this sound too mean?
Yeah. I think the first step is giving yourself permission to not have to give an answer in the moment. Right?
Yes.
So if that's an email that pops up or a text that pops up, you do not have to respond right away.
Yes.
You are allowed to think about it, to process it, to call a friend and ask them what they think. I mean, I feel like that's the first one. I was just going to add like a little bit to that too. There also is, this shit is deep, y'all, a difference from like externally processing and having a conversation with someone and also like codependently asking them for permission to do the thing you actually want to do. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why Alex calls me, because I will never give her that advice. No. She knows, because I think you've had people in the past that have done that for you. And me, I'm just like, That is bad fucking advice. Don't do that. Because I remember when we first met, I'd be like, that's bad fucking advice. Don't do that.
I know.
No. Don't do that.
So yeah, find a person who will be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I also like my core group of friends are like, we're not going on a girls trip together, right? Because they don't all know one another. But each one of them is my friend for a reason, and we support each other in different ways, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think it's important to have like a deep bench, sports reference, right?
Yes.
Of people who will support you in whatever way you need. Like if I, I'll come to you and be like, okay, how would you handle this? And then like once we've talked, then I go and I ask my dad who wrote contracts as an agent,
Right.
like, hey, business manager, like what other things should I be thinking about? Right. So
Mhm.
that you have your counsel,
Yeah.
right, that you're referring to, but definitely don't respond right away. Nothing ever needs a response immediately, even if people feel, and I'm guilty of this too. I feel entitled to you need to give me a response in 24 hours or you must be dead. What did I do to you this fucking afternoon? I was like, are you okay? I called you. I texted you. Are you alive? What's going on? Okay. So sorry. I do that too, but hit pause and think about it before responding.
Well, and one of the things I do with all of this is I actually ignore everything when I'm busy doing something else. I'm like, none of this is important. This is a priority. So it's always interesting to me when I am talking to people and they're like this. They're looking at the phone like every 3 seconds.
Yeah, I hate it.
And I'm old school because I'm old. So I literally will just be like, I'm not looking at any other things right now because this is what's important right now. All those other things can wait.
Yep.
This is the priority. And so you need to think about your life and how you prioritize your things. Because this is one of the biggest things. If it is important to you, you prioritize yourself. And that means setting all the other stuff aside while you think about what's going on with you. That thing isn't important. It'll wait. Yes. So I have one of my clients. She is literally a baby neurologist. Okay. Baby neurologist. Babies die on her table. She's one of the only clients who can call me at 2:00 in the morning. And I would be like, yeah, I'm getting in the car and driving. One of the only clients, because like, I know if she calls me, it's serious. And she is like about to like faint and die from sadness and sorrow.
Right.
I had a phrase to my other clients, like, no babies are going to die today because you didn't do this. Because this client gave me such a different perspective on life. Like she would be like, so, I lost 2 kids today.
Oh my gosh.
And she'd tell me the stories and I'd be like, that's real. The shit that happens to me, like whatever, the shit that happened to you, it doesn't matter. Did you have babies die on your table today? Then who gives a shit? It's not real. It's not a thing.
I mean,
did you have to tell parents that their babies are dead? No, shut up.
I know, and some people might be like, oh my God, that's
real. Think about that.
Yeah. There's like I give that advice to my husband too. And when he gives it back to me, I'm like, no, it's different. But it's true. Like even when it's money, right? Like people's money. And I think, our money issues come up with our clients and like, oh, they paid me for this thing. I got to show up for them in that certain way. Money is not somebody else's life. Like nobody's dying if you take 24 hours to respond. Nobody's dying if you take a day off. Are they going to be mad? Yeah, but that might be because they feel entitled to your time and they aren't actually. Unless you let them.
God. That's a whole other episode we should do. Like what to do when people are angry.
Just say no.
Because it's hard. Like dealing with people's anger can be very difficult. So and that might be really one of the deep rooted things when you're, you want a people pleaser. Are you okay with anger coming at you?
It's so hard because you're like, oh my God, they hate me. And I just want to be liked.
Okay. Once you get okay with people hating you, you're just like, whatever. That's all right.
Yeah.
You hate me. You think Jeff Bezos cares if people hate him? He's like, I got a dick in the sky. I don't even care.
So many injectables in his face. So many. Oy, oy, oy. Okay, so we're going to hit pause. We're going to advise our counsel.
Yes.
What would be the next thing?
I think one of the next things you do is for me at least, when I catch myself, because I sometimes do catch myself still, is I actually look to a time which I did not, that I broke my own rules, because I have rules about it. So I have rules about boundaries, that I broke my own rules and it went horribly wrong. because it always does.
That's so true.
And I go back to that time and I'm like, remember when you did that? Do you want to be that stupid again? Because I believe that you can be stupid once. If you're stupid twice, like, well, I mean, you're trying to learn lessons 3 times. Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look back to a time that I have done this thing before and I broke a rule that I have. And I'm like, Sybil, do you want to break it again? I want you to think. And if you find yourself saying the word, this time is different. No,
it's never
everything
different.
is going sideways.
That time is never going to be different. It is always going to be the same unless you make a different choice. And I feel, I've been doing this with, companies come, they're like, hey, can you do this thing for us? Or can you show this on your social media or whatever? And there was a long time where I did it for free. And it was great. But now I'm like, oh yeah, but like free stuff doesn't keep my internet on. And without internet, I can't do my business. So that was fun, but we're not doing it again. And I think that too is just like, being willing to say no to an opportunity and trust that another one will come behind it, even if that one doesn't follow through. Absolutely. And I know that's really, really difficult. I think that has a lot to do with, abundance mindset and just keeping an open mind and knowing just think about how many billions of people there are in the world. That one client isn't going to make or break you if they decide that they don't want to work with you.
No, and it doesn't matter who they are. It does not matter. Once again, I work with a bunch of high profile clients. It does not matter who they are. They are not special. Now, if they treat you really magically, maybe, think about the magical client who treated you differently. Maybe, there are offshoots, but very rarely.
Can you please put in your will to tell me who they are upon your deathbed? I must know. A letter just shows up at my doorstep, okay? And it's like, you were right about this person. That's all I need, okay?
These are the people who have treated me well, and these are the ones that have treated me poorly, and I bounced off my book.
There is no space for you.
There is no space for you. I'm not even sorry.
No, I think but to your point of it's going to be different this time. It's never going to be different, but you can use each of those opportunities as learning experiences and do it a little bit different every time. And that I think is what being an entrepreneur is about and what growth is about is getting better, finding, the way to get closer to your values and the business that you want from probably doing a lot of shit you didn't want to do. But if you make a commitment to yourself, I know, oh my God, I would sure as shit not do the stuff that even a year ago I said yes to. Yes. I mean, literally, I'm stuck in a contract right now. I'm like, I wish I hadn't said yes, but here we are. Yes. You just get better, right? You make better choices every day. And you wish you could look back and say to, 10 years ago, little baby business you, don't do this. But also, you need to learn to do that so that you can become a better business owner, a stronger person, and just not work 24/7 and hate your life.
Yes. My mom used to say, so my mom has many, many good quotes. And so my mom used to say, you look back at your life with 20/20 vision because you just didn't know any better. You were stupid then.
Nancy with his zingers. Yes, it's so true. Oh my God. So true.
And so that's a quote from my mom that I lived with many times, and I just look back and I'm like, 20/20 vision. I was still stupid then.
So true. I think that's it. That's the episode, y'all, because I think that's all that we need to remember is just even 1% less stupid is a win in my book.
That's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. So guys, I hope that you have learned stuff, and maybe you're less riled up. I know that I'm a little bit less riled up because I've shared with my fam. I've got it all out. I saved it too. I was like, I'm saving it inside.
This is true. I saw the text.
I know, saving it. And we want to hear all about you, and hopefully not, not how you feel about, a certain gymnast, but how you feel about if this has happened to you and maybe how you've handled it and the lessons that you've learned.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you need your permission to say no, this is your permission slip. Go ahead. You do it. You do you. You can do it. All right. So we do want to hear. So send us a DM. You can hit us up on Instagram. The show is at Skinfessional. Sybil is at Skin Fitness Expert. I am at Mala for Mala. Or you can pick up the phone, all you Gen Zers, and leave a voicemail in our
so
Skinfessional
cool.
box. You could use your voice to like transfer. I just don't even understand.
Ideas will come to me and you'll speak them in my ear. It'll be magic.
Crazy.
The number is 818-473-5277.
Awesome.
So everyone, until next week,
keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.